we're talking about building out a center of excellence, we're really talking about how do we build out an environment where it's easy for people to communicate, ask questions, and contribute, so that we can make everything that we're doing, kind of better than, what it was before, right? So, um, we're really going to talk about it in a couple of different points. We're going to go over how do you do training and mastery, how do you understand your organization, how do you manage regular touch points, how do you focus on enablement, and how do you connect people to partners? Okay, so we're going to cover these 5 topics as we get into it. All right. Now, I almost start all of my trainings or larger presentations with this when we talk about building a community. It's understanding that S curve of mastery, right? So this is really true when it comes to anyone learning any topic out there, right? So everyone on your first day, you start off at suck, right? You start off at like, you don't know what you're talking about. You're like, power app, what? Power, why is everything power, right? Like, this is so confusing. It's power, and then data flex. Why did you do that, right? Like,
Yeah, right.
just understanding things, it's very confusing.
Power automate, flow.
Right. Like, some of the documentation still says flow. Is that different than automate, right? But everyone starts at that, like, that I don't really know what's going on here level, right? And then a time period exists where you'll spend just almost lost in the woods, potentially, just trying to figure out what's what, who's, who do you talk to, where do you go, whatever's going on, right? And then you hit this epiphany moment where the light bulb goes on in your head. You're like, oh, I get it. Power apps allow for me to build applications. Power automate allows me to automate stuff. And Power BI allows me to do reporting and analytics. Okay, I get it, right? Like, and then all of a sudden you go through this like hyper growth phase of understanding and comprehension of what's going on until you reach mastery, right? And then your abilities kind of taper off, and then you start to hone in and become that master, right? And in a center of excellence, it's important to understand that every day you're going to be interacting with and dealing with people that are on different points along this journey, right? So I like to say today is always someone's first day with something, right? Like, today is the first time I've presented at a Power Platform user group, right? I've presented at Power BI user groups, but I haven't done this before. So I'm going to be learning about how this works, inside today, right? So every day is an opportunity to learn. So you just have to help people out where they are on that journey, right? And then the next aspect that I talk about all the time is the concept of see, do, and teach, right? So this is actually one of the oldest ways of learning anything. This is how doctors have taught doctors to be doctors for it's something like nearly 3,000 years. This is how they've been doing it, right? So at one point in time, they had like special sticks and stones to do like tonsillectomies. And they'd show someone, okay, this is how you do a tonsillectomy, bang, 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 and right, someone would see it, right? Then they say, okay, now it's your turn. Now you do it, right? Bang, bang, bang. Like, oh no, you killed that guy, so don't do it like that, right? And then that person, once they figure it out, they'd go on and teach that to someone else. And that's the entire life cycle when it comes to mastering any subject, is seeing someone do it yourself, and then teaching someone else that you can do it. If you can build out a center of excellence that creates environments that encourage people to do this, what you're doing is you're raising that skill level of everyone inside the organization, so that they can be constantly seeing, the work that, Anthony is doing or that Stephen is doing, and they can be learning it. They could be taking that and applying that, and they can grow that, and then they can take and share that with others, right? And you just basically transform the way you grow your company. And then when it comes to learning, this is the easiest one that's out there. It's free. These are really good training programs, but the Microsoft Learn website that's out there, just I think it's learn.microsoft.com or something like that. Just type in Learn Microsoft. You'll go out to this main page that's out there. If you click on products, go to the Microsoft Power Platform. There are a ton of classes that are out here. Highly recommend going out and checking this out. Also, make sure that you do your Azure fundamentals. And I think there's an O365 fundamentals too. Either way, get those fundamentals programs in. Start running through what it is to work inside the Power Platform, because people often miss how important it is to learn the basics, right? So every time, not every time, often when there's an update to these, I like to go out, I like to run through what's changed, see what else has occurred, because, you know, where's my book? I got a book here. Microsoft is the master of the agile development methodology. And so if you're not familiar with agile, you release things in MVP releases. And so I always talk about things kind of going through these phases, right? Day one, it may suck, but eventually they'll refine it, it'll become okay, and then it'll become great. Microsoft's really great at getting new features out there so they can get feedback from the community. And even if something sucks today, tomorrow it might not, right? So, you know, look at Power BI, look at these Power Platforms. They listen to what people are doing inside the community and they help grow it. So a great way to get caught up on things if you're not reading every blog that comes out about the Power Platform or Power Apps. A real good way to keep yourself up to date is going out and checking out these classes. All right. But these are the key points that I have when it comes to getting everyone on the same page when it comes to learning and educating your center of excellence. Before I move on, does anyone have any questions? Steve, Tony, no?
Yeah, there was just one question about the recordings for Ignite. Nothing that pertains to the presentation right now, but okay. I did have a question. You know, when it came to mastery and things of that nature, now I would say that you're at that top tier, you know, mastery level. You continue to learn. There's new things that are coming out. How do you still, you know, stay in a loop on what's going on? What are the newest features? So when we talked about during the intro, you talked about one of the newest features that came out. You know, how do you stay, you know, connected with everything that's going on?
Yeah, that's a great question. Because there is just like a constant stream of information of what's out there, right? So number one, I do follow the blogs. I do, you know, well, I follow all the data gods that I talk about, right? These are the guys that I follow. If you follow them too, you'll be in the loop on everything that's out there. You know, I make sure that I'm watching, you know, the guy in the cubes, you know, daily recap or weekly recap on Mondays, you know, and then I'm always going out and I'm participating in hackathons. I'm participating in the Microsoft Learn stuff. I do challenges, you know, to try and find ways to not just push myself, but also reevaluate the way I look at and answer questions, right? So, like we did a hackathon a couple different weeks ago, and I got to work with some people who had never touched Power BI before, right? Had never worked in analytics before, and the way they were coming in and approaching questions, you know, really showed me some new ways to think about data, to think about analytics, and think about how do I interact, you know, what tools do I use when it comes to solving these challenges? So, okay. Yeah. So I'd encourage you, if you're not involved in any hackathons, get involved in hackathons. All right.
Cool.
All right. So because we're moving on with time here, I'm gonna keep going. And the next thing is, so we went through learning and training and stuff. The next thing is know your organization, right? Understand the organization you're in and your development and deployment model. And the first thing that's most important when it comes to building out a center of excellence is identifying that executive sponsor. Identify that person inside that's going to stand up for you, that's going to stand up for what it is that you're doing, that's going to be out there supporting the work when it comes to Power Apps, Power Automate, or Power BI. Make sure that they're on board. They understand how you're working together, understand why these things are occurring, right? And I'm going to admit, I stole quite a bit from the Power BI adoption framework. But realistically, these are the same things that you need to do when it comes to Power App Auto. We're still talking self-service here, right? That's what Power Apps and Power Automate allows us to do, is allow us, as everyone starts to become an application engineer or an automation engineer, we're really talking about self-serving these needs, right? So you can automate your life. You can build out apps that help you do your job better, right? But having that executive sponsor is incredibly important, right? And then, I talk about the executive sponsor, but also the next, while it's last on this list, I think having a center of excellence is one of the things that will truly help you and your organization move these things forward. And while you may not necessarily have to have like a funded, team that runs and operates your center of excellence, this is something that anyone inside your company can go out and you can start having these lunch meetings. You could say, you know what, guys, once a month, I'm going to set up a team site and I'm going to open up a room and we're going to have center excellence. So I'll hit on that in just a second too. All right. And then again, some of this stuff really pulls in on the BI side of the house, but this really does also apply to applications. And this is something that in the business intelligence world has been going on for a long time, where there's always, for at least 10 years, there have been analytics that were done centrally in IT, and then there were analytics that were done inside the business unit. Well, that type of, that dichotomy has now moved into the application space, right? So no longer do you have to be, a .NET engineer with 4 years of education in order to build out an app, right? Now, literally, anyone with an hour or two of free time can spin up an app on the Power App side, and they can have that up and running and help meet their business needs, right? So understanding those dual roles, understanding if your organization is going to be heavy on that IT-led app development and light on the self-service side, or how they're going to shift that is really important, right? Understand the way your organization approaches these things and looks at how are you going to manage and govern these tools, right? That's going to be really important for you to understand. And I am a huge fan of this diagram when it comes to illustrating that model, right? Where we talk about there could be literally thousands of personal applications way down at the bottom here, right? That you spin up, or automations in place that help you do your job better. But as you start to go upwards, those things have to be conformed, they have to be standardized, they have to be governed, they have to be, supported, right? Those move their way up that pyramid when you start to get to the point where you talk about enterprise Power Apps and enterprise Power Automate, right? So that, when you're talking about, feeds that are containing secure information, right? You don't want to have, Johnny, whose first day on the job, was yesterday, spin up a Power Automate that tweets out all of your customer information, right? We don't want to let Johnny do that, even if it's by mistake, right? Because Johnny doesn't realize you shouldn't be tweeting all your customer information out, right? So we want to look at how we protect those things, but allow Johnny to automate and build his world, right? And one of the great things about Center of Excellence is it allows you to find those people who really get how these tools work and expand. We through having a Center of Excellence at Rockwell Automation, we found a guy who automated his entire job, right? Like, he automated like 38 hours a week of his job, and thus was able to spend all of his time working on stretch goals and stretch work that no one else inside of his organization was able to touch on until they went like, hey, Brian, what the heck? I mean, there's 10 other people like you. These 10 people are busy. They're running, 50 hours a week, and they don't ever get into any of these other side projects. Why is it all you talk about these side projects and you have this stuff done? Oh, well, I automated all of it, right? And then he automated all their work, and now they're radically growing the responsibilities and capabilities of their team because a guy just got it, right? He just figured it out, right? And that's what makes me think that this stuff is so exciting, right? Because while you're building this out, you can identify those champions and help people inside your organization and your divisions and your teams grow and build more dynamically. All right.
I just want to touch on a really great point I think you made earlier. Something that I really relate to. I came from the business side, and this whole point you make about, the business and IT, we're really kind of coming together. But for me, something like the Center of Excellence was great for learning how things are done in the IT world and picking up those skills and being able to interact with those people who are from, the other side, and similar with the IT people, meeting the business side. And it's really this union, which is breaking barriers. It's getting these Power Apps, these Power BI reports up really quick. And it's kind of like what Microsoft are being so amazing here and getting these quick things out the door and really speeding up processes.
Well, right. To build on that, I think one of the great features that we saw recently in Power BI was the new automated pipelines, right? So the automated pipelines introduced the concept of dev, quality, and production environments. Whereas, talking with lots of people in the business, they hadn't thought about that at all, right? They just updated their production reports, and that's what they do, right? And when Johnny screwed up and forgot to update it, or he did it wrong, now they have to go through this big exercise to try and roll back and recover it. Well, while they're getting these new capabilities, we can help them out and say, hey, look at this best practice. If you're building, these financial numbers that you report out to Wall Street, maybe it should be a little more formal than, Johnny's Excel spreadsheet, that you just make a change to and that goes out, right? Not saying that actually happened, but, that's the type of thing I'm referring to, right? Awesome. All right. And then when we talk about how do you form that COE, and it's all about touch points, right? How often can you connect with the people inside your organization and start to build up that excitement, build up that framework? And this is, like I said before, anyone can do this. If you're in a company of 10 people and you want to get them engaged, just set up a lunch appointment, right? Set up a user groups. Talk about how you can help and build these things out. One of the big things that I've done at Rockwell Automation is we've created a thing called Power Hours. So every Friday from 8 until 10, everyone is welcome to come in and ask any question about Power Apps, Power Automate, Power BI, anything. And we and the community will help walk through and help them out, thus creating that see, do, teach framework inside of this set period of time. It also helps us because we've built out this community and we have this set period of time. It's very easy for us to be able to deflect, that Tuesday afternoon. Hey man, I need some help with this. Like, oh, I'm sorry, I'm on a big project right now. I'm not gonna be able to help you, for a little while. But you know what? You can come to Power Hours on Friday, and from 8 to 10, and we'll be available. Oh, that's great. Or if the message goes across Teams, someone else on the Teams hops in and provides that feedback. But the key focus here when you're starting this up is create that community, focus on the people that are working inside the business, the people who are going to be using these tools. Look for, within your SharePoint groups, right? The people who are like heavy into the SharePoint side of the house, other people are going to naturally tend to want to start working inside this space, right? So set up your teams, set up some power hours, set up some lunch and learns, right? Create that environment where you can openly talk with people about these things. Okay. And then Joshin, I see you have a question there. I'm going right into that right now. All right, and then I think my fourth bullet point, 4 out of 5, so nearly done. So you won't have to listen to me much longer. Is focus on how, make sure that as you set things up, you're focusing on helping other people get their job done and meet their deliverables and the asks that people have of them, right? Do things to make things easier for people to work and operate inside the space. Now, I have a great diagram for the Power BI service, to help people out in understanding what are all the tools and abilities that they can go out and they can leverage as they're building out their Power BI solutions. Do this for Power Apps and Automate as well. Create all those different connectors. Create some diagrams like this so that it's easy for people to see and consume and understand all the various pathways, all the various connections, all the various working points. Okay.
Yeah, I see that you're using a lot of imagery here. I mean, and that what you're able to see here can really draw the picture for other people that aren't visionary like that. Like some people read, they learn better that way, or they some people like to watch YouTube videos. But here we're seeing a great image on what has proven to work in the past, and this is awesome.
Yep. Yeah, and find ways to keep it updated, right? Like as new features come in place, call them out. Hey, I'm going to update these things. Make these documents living, breathing, conversational pieces so that when a new feature comes in, you add it in, you call it out, you share it out inside your group, and heck, your group will start to call you out when you didn't update the document and say, hey, where's my new smart narratives bullet point on here, which is a message I got earlier today. But you'll get the community starting to really understand and engage with these items that are available for you, right? And then look at how you can roll out the Power Platform Center of Excellence kit, starter kit. This is a great tool and resource for helping you govern, manage, and understand what's going on inside of your organization. I will say that we attempted to roll this out in December of last year, and then in January, and then in February, and then in March. April, we took a pass on, but then we tried to deploy it again in June, and June, that was the magic one. We were able to get up and running, but they've been making upgrades and improvements to it, so the starter kit is much easier to deploy now than it was a year ago. Do check it out. The dashboards that it creates for you to help you understand what's going on inside your environment. Who are your builders? Who are the people who are building out your automation? What's being done out there is massive when it comes to understanding, what technically is available inside the system. And then I would be remiss if I didn't call out the DLP editor that they have, which is, oh my gosh, I'm drawing a blank. DLP is
going to be, it's going to be the governing structure.
Data loss. I forget what it is, but basically what you can connect to inside of your Power App environment. So the types of connectors that you allow. This is a big one, especially if you're not fully licensed for all of your users with Power App unlimited consumption. You really have to get a good handle on your DLP access policies. because they have two different types of connectors. There's the standard ones, which are basically anything, not anything, but basically anything O365, and then there's everything else. So anything Azure or anything, outside of, like Twitter or any of these other things. There's basically free, and then there's premium. Anyone who connects to your apps, if you're using premium connectors, you have to have licenses for them. So be very careful if you're rolling this out. You don't want to inadvertently roll something out to 10,000 people where all of a sudden they need 10,000, $35 a month licenses or something like that. So be very mindful that your DLP editor is a great resource to help you with that stuff. Okay. I hope that answers your question, Jochin. And then look at how you can build out a sample portfolio in a portal that gives people a guides to all of the things that they're going to want to know and do, right? So this is Rockwell Automation's Power BI template, where we basically run through, what are the report templates that are out there? What are user profiles that you have to think about, right? When we talk about, and when I say a user profile, I'm talking about, you're going to have people that come in and are looking for just summary information, the casual browsers. Then you're going to have those detailed accountants that are just looking to drill into every little detail, right? And talk about how do you build out an experience that addresses all those different user profiles, right? But basically a portal that runs through and describes all of the different areas that someone who's building out inside your experience, building out a Power App, should be considering, okay? Now, this may seem like a lot, and all of this may seem a lot. Remember, you do these one step at a time, right? Make a goal to get one thing done and then move on to the next once you feel comfortable with that, right? So don't feel like you have to do all of these things or you won't be a success. All right. And then I've said it before, I'll continue to say it. A good COE is all about building out that community, building out those people who are inside your organization who can help you drive that data culture, right? Figure out how at that individual level, how do you help those people contribute, right? How do you grow their understanding of how to work with the tools and work with data and work in this ever-changing landscape, right? Empower those teams to help manage themselves and guide themselves and build out better solutions so that those teams can be successful. And then look at how you can bring those all together, piggyback them together to really drive your organization's growth, right? So find different ways to do that inside your company. Look for those champions, look for those people who really get it, right? Those people who really understand and have a passion for this, right? Like find your Stephen Campbells, right? I guarantee you there's a Stephen Campbell in each one of your organizations just waiting for that next opportunity to be able to go off and show the incredible work that he's doing, right? Because they're great people everywhere you go. I guarantee it, they're there. Make sure you invite people to this meeting. Tell people in your organization, when we meet, Stephen, you have a LinkedIn user group someplace. Send that out to people inside your company. Encourage them to start coming and participating. Look for those people who are interested in leading and help them out, right? The next one is also reach out to people at Microsoft. The people inside Microsoft are incredibly friendly. They want you to be successful. It's one of the big things that differentiates Microsoft from their competition is the number of people they have inside their organization that's actively working to engage with their clients, engage with the people that are building out their tech, and engage with people across all of the skill levels. We're not just talking about those deep engineers like classically, you think of, those IBM, developers. We're talking about a community at Microsoft that's engaging with people who are, you know, who work in PowerPoint, who love Word, who you know, dig Access or Excel, right? You know, Microsoft really has a great community for that. And then also make sure you leverage your COE as a point to connect them with your partners, right? Like concurrency, right? You know, one of the things we love about our power hours is it allows us to see all of the work that's being done inside the organization. So when people bring to us big problems, it's very easy for us to say, oh, hey, this is how you fix it. You know, you can do these things, or hang on, that's too big for you. Maybe our IT team needs to do it, or we don't have any resources to help you with this. This is a massive ask that you're trying to take on. Why don't you call Steve or Anthony at Concurrency? They're the ones, they'd be able to sit down with you, put together a proposal, and help you put this application out there, right? So that's a real good way of guiding and directing your users when they encounter those situations that are just simply too much for them, right? They may not realize it, and that's an opportunity for you to help them. And it makes sure that, you know, they go to Stephen at Concurrency or Anthony at, you know, at Concurrency, you know, one of your trusted partners, and not, you know, their nephew who watched a 15-minute video on Power Apps, and, you know, he's willing to bill at, you know, $150 an hour to do work that he doesn't really know what he's doing, right? It ensures that you're connecting people in your business to people that can really help you solve your issues.
And I think that's a really great point there. Even just in my experience, you know, getting to know the people in the communities locally, you'll find that, you know, there's pretty strong communities, and you'll get to know people, and you'll get to know what people's strengths are. We all tend to, I think, focus on different parts. You know, maybe someone's more back end data engineer, someone's like a nice UI UX Power App developer. And once we kind of get into it, and you know, these different focuses, it's great to have that community, local, or even now in our virtual world here, where we know who to reach out to, we know who can answer. People are very receptive, I think. So it's a really good point.
Steve, that's a great point. And getting those different, you know, persons in a room, you know, like what Chris is doing there, where they have the power hours. Like I can't imagine, you know, like being in that power hour would be pretty spectacular, I'm sure. You know, having those different people in the room, you're all pumped about it, you're ready to answer people's questions. Even if you don't have the answers, I'm sure it's just that's probably the fun ones, you know, like where you can get the answers and dig deeper. So, hey, Chris, you know, from the people that are approaching you, are you seeing a lot of, you know, personal productivity? Are you seeing more like business apps, you know, business flows, you know, different dashboards? Like what are you seeing when people come to you with questions?
Well, it's generally, it really is a mix, right? So we have people that are trying to solve a problem because, hey, I've been tasked with this, and it's taking me 6 hours a day, and it's monotonous, and it feels like it should be easily automated. Can I automate this, right? And you know, Anthony, you're exactly right. Like, the number of times people come into our power hours with questions that, well, frankly, I know Power BI upwards and backwards, and, you know, I'm pretty deep in that space. I'm not deep in Power Apps and Power Automate, so I'm 100% reliant upon our community to answer those questions. And it is rare that people come to one of our sessions and the response is like, oh, gee, I guess I just don't know. People come together, and it's really a great community that, you know, we work together, we answer these questions, and it's exciting to see people come with the question, someone come forward and say, oh, here's how I fixed it, and then have someone else come forward and go, oh, but that's the old way. There's a new way. It's much easier. Right click on those ellipses, and there's an option for it. Like, and everyone grows and learns, right? So it's pretty exciting.
That sounds very exciting.
Yeah.
Awesome. What about, so I guess, you know, does anybody else have questions that are out there, Steve? Are you seeing anything else that's being posted?
Yeah, we've got one from Greg here. He was interested in the rest of the story. So after the department was automated, what are they gone on to do next?
Oh, so yeah, so that's a great question. So we had a department that automated, one guy, like I said, he automated his work, and then he went through and he automated everything inside his org's work. And now that org, there's always been stretch goals, stretch things that they were never able to get to, and that organization has now been able to start taking on those challenges, those problems, those needs that they've never, like someone said, they've been trying to get to some of this work for over a decade, and they're now actually able to engage and get to that work. And so it's super exciting, especially as we go through the, some, all these ups and downs of COVID, I mean, Rockwell wasn't immune to like layoffs and stuff like that. So, for a while, some people were nervous about their jobs. Not this department. This department was sitting like kings on the hill, right? Like, look what we've been able to do. And it actually was a huge win for them as they expand and show other people how effective you could be as an organization. So.
And I think that's a really good point I've seen in the past. Sometimes people are a bit, apprehensive to try and feel like they're going to automate themselves out of a job, something like that. Or, one of the most dangerous phrase, it's the way we've always done it. This is the process. I would always say that, there will always be work if you go looking for it. I think if you can automate yourself out of a job, that's a huge win, because then you can go and do another job, and that's just, you're really increasing the amount of work you do. So I'm always for trying to automate things, trying to make things more efficient. Even if you feel like you're automating yourself in a job, you won't be. You'll be wanted more for sure.
Right. And you'll find that you automate yourself into new positions that may not have ever existed before, right? Companies recognize that value, right? That value that comes from that automation and who brought that to them. So, yeah, I agree 100%. All right. Well, that is the end of my presentation. I don't have the survey link anymore, but like and subscribe if this was a video.
Yep. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, this will certainly be a video. We'll post your YouTube channel out there. Steve, if you could get that in the comments, that'd be great. Just to kind of do a shameless plug there for Chris. It's certainly something that we appreciate. Chris, you joining us and being able to share your experiences and talk through that. We've all kind of come from these different areas and different parts of the world. Even Steve, in a different country at this point. I'm in a different state. You're in a different state. Like we were talking about earlier, you can do this from anywhere. And joining, your favorite user group isn't, something that you have to go to in person necessarily anymore. So now, certainly go out there, subscribe to the YouTube channel, subscribe to the Milwaukee user or platform user group there. And, it's something that you can choose now and really pick how you spend your time and being able to, really, get out there and do the things you love. And I think that that's the great thing about the Power Platform too. It provides that ability to do that and work with the community that way.